Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to 3 Degrees of Love, 3 Degrees of Love Divination. It's your girl Alana here. So, I got a special package today, some happy mail that I actually decided I wanted to unbox with you. This is coming to me from Hezzy of Stay Elevated, and it just how we actually, I think he found me, and on Instagram. And when I found out what it was all about, what he was doing, I just was blown away, and just in all the best ways possible. And so figured let's just dive right in, because I feel like this again is also in my element, and he's also local to to my home city. So that's the other thing about this wonderful brain behind this whole thing. So this is Afro Adventures. So actually, let me just quickly sort of give you a quick overview of Hezzy. He's actually a teacher. He is a wonderful family man, and I would probably say the series is based off his own family. I don't remember if that is when we spoke, if that was what he told me, but anyways, this is a whole series. There's a whole campaign, and not to go too far in, because I hope to get into all of this with him on my channel, and for us to talk about it. So yeah, if you haven't heard of Hezzy, I will have all his links down below, so you can go and check him out and check out everything that he has going on. Very exciting stuff, and I am so looking forward to everything that is that is coming, that is yet to be manifested. Yes, so proud. So yeah, we have You Can Be and Afro Adventures. So this is just two of the books that he has going right now, with a third one soon to be released. So when I get a chance to get together with Hezzy, we will discuss all that. So just to shout out, thank you, Hezzy, for this. And as you say, stay elevated, and as I say, until I see you again, live, listen, and learn. Bye guys, I love you.
Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. 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 No matter what people want you to believe, don't ever turn back on your dreams. It's all in your hands, a change is near. Close your eyes, listen to the sound.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Alana here. Welcome back to 3 Degrees of Love, 3 Degrees of Love Divination. So today I had the wonderful opportunity to actually finally get to meet Hezzy, the author of these here 3 books. First one is, well, actually, the first one that he wrote was You Can Be, and the next one that he did was Afro Adventures presents the incredible genius IMHOTEP. And so the premise of the story is, of course, a kid with an Afro comb that as soon as he puts it into his hair, he is transported to another time altogether. And where he meets the creator of the pyramid, and stuff like that. So really good book, and still sort of following, you know, along the lines, and, you know, teaching and, you know, bringing, you know, togetherness and awareness, self-awareness and self-exploration, you know, for children, and of course, you know, sort of practicing that sort of family unit and bonding time together, and then so of course, after Afro Adventures, which actually just came out today, he had a book signing at my local mall. He is from Toronto as well, so he is local to me. Another brilliant creator, a teacher, and you know, it just, even beyond being a teacher, just, you know, just a, you know, worldwide educator. You know, so a little while ago, before the launch of his newest book, which is truly Mellanin presents Self-Care Sundays, and now, you know, this book is just very beautiful, very much self-care focused, you know, and the idea is that, you know, human beings, really humanity, all of us, you know, we all have, you know, melanin in us, in, you know, in our bodies. So the idea is that we are all connected, right? And I've said that before, you know, you know, and saying it again. So just the idea of sort of bringing people together, self-awareness, self-care, self-love, and, you know, and then, you know, from within you extend that out, and, you know, to other cells of the world, and how, you know, as we take care of ourselves, you know, we can in turn be taking care of one another. So yeah, so like I said, you know, today it was such a fabulous opportunity to finally meet him in person. You know, I did get the opportunity to you know, do an interview with him a little while back, and, you know, I think I did mention it before, and I did do a little bit of an unboxing when I did get his first 2 books. So, you know, I will definitely you know, be showing you that in this video, as well as the interview. Don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe. I will have, you know, all of Hezzy's information down below, and my contact information. Don't forget to please enter the giveaway if you haven't already and you want to get a copy of the original tarot, the learning edition. You know, all the information, I will definitely have the video link to, you know, when I talk about the giveaway, and that has all the information for how to enter and stuff like that, and I will still put all that stuff down below. So you know, without further ado, I wish you all the best. You know, today's Saturday, we're in April, we're having some beautiful and well-deserved warm weather where I am. You know, and it's, yeah. So, you know, as spring continues and we are here, you know, as we spring together, and hopefully forge forth for a brighter future, you know, and all the while still trying to heal ourselves and each other. You know, I wish you well, and I'll see you on the other side for the video. And until we see each other again, I love you. I am love. My name is Alana. Please don't forget to live, listen, and learn. I love you. Take care. Hi, you know, welcome to my channel. Welcome to 3 Degrees of Love, 3 Degrees of Love Divination. Hi, Hezzy. How are you?
I'm good, Miss 3 Degrees of Love. And I'm blessed, you know, happy to be here. So yes, so happy to be here.
Yeah, so thank you. So yeah, I'm trying to remember how we crossed paths, but anyway, I know it was on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure you sought me out.
Right.
And you know what? Like, I am so happy that you did, because like, to see what you've created and to go through it, to talk, we spoke at length, in the beginning first, to meet each other. And then as you told me about, what you've created so far, I absolutely fell in love, and just like, yeah, this is like, right. So, and the possibilities. But so since then, you sent me the books that are currently published. Thank you very, very much for this generous gift. And we have Afro Adventures. And okay, so the incredible genius. This is the part that I'm like, huh?
Yeah, IMHOTEP.
And is there a meaning behind that?
Yes, ma'am. So his name is He Who Comes in Peace. And I know you've been waiting, but when you read through the book, it lets you know what his name means. And I can give you the breakdown of who he was. He was the world's first physician. They call him a polymath, multi-genius architect. He designed the world's first step pyramid in Egypt, the pyramid of Djoser, in the city of Saqqara. And it's inside the story there, so you can see it. He does amazing work. He's a physician, a sage, a priest, architect, scientist. So it's very, very inspirational, an inspirational character.
And and then you see, like, how, as you're explaining it, and my like, if you were to put like one of those neurologist caps on my head, like, I think it'd be lighting up like a Christmas tree. My brain would probably be lighting up like a Christmas tree, because all these, like, ideas come rushing in at the same time. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, this is how to kind of understand the idea of spirituality and how everything is connected, right? Like, you're talking about the story of who, from way back when, right? And and making it into a modern day inspirational story where it's about a boy who explores the embodiment. But I haven't read the story. I'm just, this is just my, right, like, my take as I'm listening to you, that and it's the embodying the inspiring aspects of our ancestors and things like that, and combining all of that knowledge and information into what we can be doing today, what inspiring things that is our heritage that we could be doing now for the benefit of ourselves and everyone else. right? And that goes back to the whole idea of mental health and, you know, and spirituality and our ancestors. And, you know, when I talk about, you know, honoring our heritage and things like that, right? Like, so some of the things that, you know, as I have to process all the things that have been going on in my life more recently, you know, and I think I shared with you the fact that my dad, you know, he's only 70 something, and I've seen the deterioration in the last 10 years of, you know, he has Alzheimer's and he has dementia, right? And so to see, right, and how, like, it's deceiving because he walks around, he's very friendly, he's this, that, he's, you know, very sharing. And but his mind is, even though he looks able-bodied and he's always moving and wandering around, his mind is practically mush. You know, so, you know, like, you know, the fact that he's lost the ability to do the things that sometimes we take for granted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and then as I think about that, I remember, well, it runs in the family because his mom had Alzheimer's and she deteriorated that way. His dad also had dementia. He deteriorated that way. And I don't know how far back, right, that idea of mental health or that sort of mental deterioration kind of goes. And, you know, when I think about some of the things that I've had to struggle with, you know, it's like, well, who else did, and stuff like that. So as I think about that, and then I think about, you know, the idea of, you know, free spirituality and the, you know, embodiment and yada yada yada, and the connection with stories and all of that, I'm like, it's all connected.
Yeah.
Plus, at the time too, because I'm because of all of these sort of health, mental health, physical health sort of breakdown that I kind of went through, forced me into a real life hermit mode, right? So I've had nothing but time to sit down and, you know, seek out knowledge from every different possible source, right? And as I sit and I contemplate, you know, and I try to think about, you know, as I go through my depression and and I'm doing my therapy and trying to, okay, accept what's going on with me right now. How can I, you know, and sort of turn that around, you know, and I know I'm going down a whole other rabbit hole, but anyways, so I just, like, this is how my mind works, right? Like, you said something and it inspired, like, blinking lights to, like, go down, like, all these different ways. And it's just, you know, and I know that, like I said, it you know, I know on my mother's side, you know, there's a lot of educational scholars and things like that. There's a lot of family members who are in the health field, you know, but they're on the side of doctors and stuff like that, right? And you know, and then I believe from what my mother explained to me about my grandmother was that prior to her, you know, starting a family and giving to that, she was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and then when I think about my upbringing, right? I know that I think I don't know if somewhere along the line, one of those family, I can't remember if it was my mom or even my grandmother, but they grew up in a very, very strict sort of Catholic, you know, upbringing, right? Because I believe someone went to a convent, like, for school, right? So that kind of, you know, sort of strict upbringing and then the Christianity has fluctuated throughout my family, because my dad's side was a whole other, you know, sort of aspect and whatever. And now I'm going down a whole nother set of rabbit hole as I'm talking about DNA and the embodiment of our ancestors and why we need to dive in and look at it and to understand ourselves and where we're going forward, right? Like, that's my whole point of this. Whoosh. And why this story is so amazing because it's, as you said, back to the word. Oh, look at that. I finally made it around Saturn. So, like embodying our ancestors and how we can do that for ourselves and our greater good, and inspiring through children's story how to start that process at the earlier age, and not finally come to that conclusion after you've went through half your life, or till present, you've gone through all the trauma because you're adapting to the mistakes of previous history, because that's how much we've become so disconnected. Why we're at the state we're in currently, because we're so disconnected, right? So and then understanding, well, it all starts with the mind, right? And then we work our way down for our physical bodies, but because it's the mind that really controls everything else.
Got it.
But and there's a whole another thing, like to imagery wise, if you were to look at a tree, the roots of a tree, which kind of looks the same like a walnut, it's right, that's what our brain looks like if when you see images of the brain. So that's how complex beings we are, right? And so we have to honor every aspect of that, the science, the spirituality, the heritage, everything, right? So and looking at it from both sides, the good and the bad, because you want to check the bad so you're not repeating that karmic cycle. Right? And you want to check the good so you could let's take what's good and spread that for the greater good, right? Like, because at the end of the day, we're just gonna go back to the earth and come back again, right? Like, so anywho, this is incredible. So and so so you know what, please let me finally start with the first question that I even had written down, because anyway, so please tell me about yourself. Like, who are you? What is your background? All of that historical sort of stuff, and even professionally speaking too. So yes, please.
All right, thank you, Alana. Yes, my name is Hezzy. I am a children's author. I write children's books. The first book that I wrote was You Can Be, and that's a story that really just highlights all of the possibilities that young people can be anything they put their mind to, right? So that's that one. I also wrote the book that you're talking about right over there, Afro Adventures presents the incredible genius IMHOTEP. That one talks about IMHOTEP, but it also lets the reader know that they can be anything they put their mind to as well, but they also are geniuses. For there's different types of genius, and that's what that book and the workbook highlights. So now when you asked about professionally, I'm also a certified teacher as well. So that helps me when I'm writing these books. I think about the different types of geniuses that are there and that exist. And then I help the readers identify with the different type of geniuses that are out there.
So, okay, so these are the two books that you did. Yeah. This is the first one you were talking about, and then this is the latest one with the workbook and everything like that.
Right.
Okay, because there's no workbook or anything for this one.
No, not yet. There's no workbook for that. It's just that one over there.
But this one.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so that's what the reason why I wrote those books was, just really to also create more books in the space of children's literature pertaining to diversity. So I realized that there's not a lot of diverse books out there. They're starting to grow. The number is growing. But I said, you know what? I definitely need to start writing some books. I remember what Toni Morris was saying, that Toni Morrison, if you see a book, or if you don't see a book, and I'm kind of paraphrasing her quote, but if you realize that there's not a book out there and you want to read a certain type of book, you have to be the one to create it. So I
Mhm.
realized that, I wanted to have some books with some young boys in it, going on adventures and also using rhyming texts. So then I started to create these books. The next book that I have created is going to be Truly Mellanin, presents Self-Care Sundays. That's one of my passions, as well as fusing African history and mental health together. So that is what I'm doing with my next book, Truly Mellanin presents Self-Care Sundays. That book's going to go in. That's going to be just like Afro Big Adventures, but it's going to go in a little bit deeper. It's going to have the workbook. It's going to have a journal. It's going to have a lot of different things that I'm working on right now, coloring books and things like that, to really help people understand what mental health is, what mental illness is, and it's perfect for family time. The way I design my books is that it allows for families to come together while they're reading
Mhm.
it and doing different activities. So that is why that's the next book. It's coming out in a matter of days. I'd probably say, looking at a schedule, I'm looking over there, about April 15th is what we're going for. So we're going for April 15th, and definitely you'll be invited to the launch. So I'm working on the launch right now, and I know that I want to connect with some elevated ones who want to meet face to face. So in a matter of days, I'm going to be putting out some promotions and locations. So that's where we're at right now.
Oh, so this is all amazing. And like I said before, we talked at great length about all the possibilities and even that what I saw, because you talk about mental health, like as an advocate and my career professional background being, social work and social services and things like that. I'm all about the mind, right? Like, and then also the fact that I even had to deal personally with my own sort of breakdown, and then the breakdown of, like I said, I talked about my dad and seeing that deterioration from that different aspect, right? So it has become an eye-opening sort of truest calling passion, if you will, and anything that has to do with the idea of education and the mind and right and mental health, like I'm all for it. So this is why this means so much to me too, that and I want to honor that you created this, and even when you talk about like we're already probably into, like, I think we were already kind of going through all the questions without even actually me asking the questions, I think, because like we're talking about the future, whatever. But anyway, or rather I am, I should say, at this point. But okay, so let me go with your question too. How did you get started in this? I mean, you kind of sort of touched on that a little bit, but like, what was really the go point? Because like I know everybody has their sort of process and how they things sort of developed and whatever, but like I I feel like it didn't just start like right away. Like there's bits and pieces to that, like tiptoe steps that you got before you got to the to
Yeah.
the entire planning for the creation of it. So how did that become?
Well, thank you. Yes. How it all became, I'm going to go all the way back to when I was 16, and I did a talent show for school. And then I realized that I was able to perform and, write certain things. And so that really helped me with my public speaking. And then, as you said, the different pit stops through my life, I started to do a lot of poetry in university. First year, I was part of poetry clubs and things like that. In high school, I was in poetry clubs. So I was always writing, but with the mindset of a certain level of consciousness. So the type of
Mm-hmm.
lyrics that I was writing was storytelling, but it was always connecting back to world history, African history. So I just kind of fused those two things together. I've always been doing that. And then as I was getting older, and I realized that skill set I had, and then I also seen that there was a need for it. So see a need, fill a need as an educator, and I saw certain things and certain stories that needed to be told to elevate the nations. And once I realized that some of those stories were not there, then I realized that it was my responsibility to then use the gifts that the Most High has given me to then share it with the world. So I like,
So
go ahead.
So sorry, I think you skipped a couple steps. How did you even become to be the educator that you are in the first place?
First,
You
perfect. Okay.
started writing. You started at 16, and then
Right.
you're writing poetry, but then now you're an educator. What?
Got it.
Right?
Got it. Got it. Okay, let's go back to that. All right. So I try to tie up these questions with timing. So
Yes.
at no 15, so I'm jumping back again. At 15, I had my first job at a camp counseling job. And
Okay.
somebody said, you know what, I think it'd be good with kids. And I just did it. It was a sleepover camp. And I was like one of the youngest counselors there. And I just was, my job was to go perfect. Thank you for eliciting this story out of me. It was my job on a night walk to tell a story. So all of us are out there, and it's like, okay, Harold, that's the name, right? They go, Harold, your job is to go out there and take these guys on a night walk and tell them a story. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't, camps. I was like, oh, tell us a story. So I'm walking through the woods with these children, and I'm making up a story. And it was this and that, and they were loving it. The kid, the supervisor, she came after and she was like, "Yo, that was the best story ever," and the kids loved it. And I was just making it up on the spot, going through dark places and just hiding this and this is. And I remember that, and that was really where I realized, like, yo, I kind of nice with the storytelling stuff. I could just make it up at the drop of a dime. And then when that happened, and then I said, okay, so it was there. That's when I really started to realize that I worked really well with children. And then I was able to infuse my talents and things like that with education. And then after I finished high school, I got a scholarship for community work. So I got a scholarship from the Markham African Caribbean Association. I got another scholarship I got 4 scholarships, and I can't remember the names of all the organizations. West Indian Community Services also gave me one, and there's 2 other ones. Lewis Albert Lynch, oh, it's all coming back to me now. And then one more. So I need one more. What's in it? Oh, I gotta find the next one. I got 4. And
It's on your website. I know that.
okay, yeah. So I think, yeah, we gotta go check the website. But yeah, so I got those scholarships, and then at 19, I went to York University, and that's when I started to link up with some other guys, and so, we started doing some poetry. So then, we had a class called Cultures of Resistance, and then we just met up with all these other brothers and sisters from all over, the province, the world, and we just started to connect after class. And then we created a crew called Polaris, which was because one of the brothers in the group was from North Buxton, and Polaris, that group, we used to freestyle. We always freestyling. Middlefield, we were free. My high school, we were freestyling. So that was where we developed that storytelling, and then we just took it to the next level. And that was university, and then I went from university. I'm telling you the real condensed version, and then I went back to school and to Tyndale University, and then I got my bachelor's of education there. And all through that time, I was also working in another organization called Elevated Grounds, which my wife founded. And Elevated Grounds, it was a program that uses the performing arts to teach about mental health. So I also helped write the curriculum for that organization. So I started to realize that on the back end as a writer, you don't always have to be the freestyling person. I started to write on the back end, and I write curriculum for the program. I wrote some of the plays. I was a co-writer in some of the plays that when we went on tour and engaged about 80,000 students all up for a 10-year span. I was also writing. So I was starting to realize that I could be on the back end. Sometimes I like to act as well. So I was on the front end on stages, but then I started to go into the back end and write things. And then that developed. And then I started to write for newspapers. I was writing after university. I worked for an organization called Breaking the Cycle, helping young men and women get out of gangs. And there I wrote an article called Armed with a Dream. And then I also wrote in other newspapers, the Maranatha newspaper and the Walrus newspaper. Those are different newspapers I wrote in. And then I always like to write. I was always writing. I was writing in journals or freestyling and writing stories. And then I think how I get to the book. And then I just said, you know what? This has been something that I've always wanted to do since when I was younger. And the kind of mindset I have now is that I don't want to live life with any regrets. So I just go after whatever the Most High puts in my brain. So I don't, so then I said, hey man, I got these lyrics, I got this book. I'm not going to just let that linger. Go after it, do it. And you don't even know, sometimes it's not even for me. It's really I'm a messenger, so I just got to send out the message.
And and as again, this is how my brain works. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I wonder if he knows any of this stuff, right? And I'm hearing, like little side notes and things that I'm picking up on, and I'm like, and this is what fascinates me when I talk too about our DNA and honoring our heritage and stuff like that. And the big for me with all of that rabbit hole stuff that was going on in my brain as you were talking was the fact that you said when you were on the night walk and you were saying, and you're like, the story for the first time and trying to figure out and you're like, Harold. And you said your name. And then now, again, remember prior to all this, we were talking about the definition of nerds and stuff like that, and the understanding of where words originate and come from and the meanings and whatever. And when I hear the word herald, I'm thinking of like an angel with like a loudspeaker, and they're beckoning and beaking, right? So that's what pops into my mind, and I'm like, oh, that's like the representation of a messenger, an elevated messenger, right? It's herald, right? So you instinctually, without, right, because of the name that your parents instinctually gave you, right? You kind of sort of follow that path now of actually embodying without probably even realizing it. So maybe I'm telling you this right now, even, right? To put that connection together to say you're embodying the idea of what a herald is, right? So, and that's your full name, right? Hezzy's a nickname. Right. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that connection. Yeah, that's really interesting. I never thought of that. Hark, the people make fun of it at time. Hark the Herald Angel sings, but when you really check it out, yeah, because it's also the real that's a definition. Another definition is coming from Viking Norse language, which also means chief of the troops. So it's also a word for leadership. And as we say, we nerd out. There was also melanated Vikings as well that were traveling along with the the stereotypical Viking that you see on TV. But there was melanated Vikings all throughout history. You can see that, and I can get that documentation for you. So maybe it's one of our ancestors were one of the Vikings, because that's true. Our ancestors were the seafaring people, the people who were able to read the stars and able to navigate. So a lot of times in history, you don't see that on those ships. There was Africans or melanated people who were helping people navigate, the seas, right? Our ancestors were able to read stars.
And here's something a little nerdy kind of, because I'm also a visual learner too, right? So and all of that, and I love and will always relate things to things I've seen, like movies and stuff like that. So even just talking listening to you talk about that, my mind flashes back to Norse mythology. Oh, Frozen. The movie Frozen, the Disney movie Frozen. Like that's where my little kid brain goes, because she enjoys that movie. And even when the movie came out, like I dove and I don't know, and sang all the songs. Listen, so I know that movie from back to front, if you will, and it's all about the idea of Norse mythology and native, historical whatever. So yeah, like, and this is what I'm talking about, going back in history and honoring our roots, like, yeah, right. So yeah, so like, so this is exactly how everything kind of got started for you. And then the idea of, would you say that the plan for all of this coming together was pretty much, now if we fast forward a little bit now to like when you met your wife? And that's kind of probably the other hand, if you will, in bringing this all.
Yeah, big time. I can speak on that. Yeah, big time. She's really helped me, you know, I gotta say this in such an artistic way, but excavate the richness that lies there within, you know, the female energy that, you know, you guys have is so powerful. You guys can incubate, you guys can bring forth life. You guys are very powerful beings. And by that, she also helped me see that what was inside of me, the things that I didn't see within myself, and then always encouraging me to just do better. And then we worked together for a long time, worked together as friends for a very long time. And that helped when we were creating Elevated Grounds and the formative years of using our talents to create something that helps young people. So then you have to use your creative mind, especially when you're trailblazing something. It's not a model. We just had to make things up, you know, grab some young people, grab a place. So yeah, definitely connecting with my wife has helped me, you know, definitely. Yeah.
And this is sort of kind of now goes back as I talk about, you know, honoring our heritage and where we come from, and, you know, our DNA and everything like that, because, you know, you guys came together, you know, in business in minds, if you will, but the idea of the connection of even, you know, DNA, because you guys have children, and you're like, all of this is to be your legacy, like,
Right.
and the legacy for many children, like all children, like, you know, but you're honoring a major part of, you know, your entire family's heritage here. Like, this is where it starts, right? And, you know, and anybody who can relate to that, you know, can, you know, but, and we've been talking too, and I don't want to skip questions, so let me just shut up and stop talking. But hold on. So yeah, so okay, so kind of this question sort of came out because of previous conversation we had when we met the first time, and you were telling me about some of the things that you've been doing since all this began, and you've been traveling and stuff like that. So I want to know, like, please share more about all that and what you've been doing with that.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. Yeah, we've been traveling. I did 2 presentations in the country called Belize, in Central America. And, you know, it's funny, long time ago, my wife and I wanted to just go there, but it never materialized. But everything is on the Most High's timing. And then we went this time and we were able to present in 2 schools. So then that really helps me as an author to gauge, is my stories really just like localized, like, oh, you're good, like local, or do other people appreciate your story? And what I was able to realize that, you know, this weekend I talked to a brethren from Barbados. He was telling me that his son always has to read my book before he goes to bed. Then I talked to somebody in Belize, and they were telling me that, you know, they really loved it. And I gave some of the books when I went to Jamaica a few years ago. I gave it to some people in Jamaica. So you start to realize that, again, you have talents, and it's not always for you to do things. It can bless other people. So when I was there, I did a presentation. The last time I remember, like, there was a whole school, like the whole school was in the room, and they're like, you know, they want truly melanin. You know, I was telling them about it, and like I asked them, do you guys want this? So I'm going to plan to get back down there in the next few months and definitely drop off truly melanin and do some presentations with it too. So I do reading. Then there's also workshops that are connected to the stories. So with Nick and his, that one there, you can be. This one, you know, I have a program that when I go into schools, I help children start to visualize their future self. So that's what we do. We start talking about our future selves and what are the steps that we can take to get to our future self. With the Afro Pig Adventures presents the incredible genius IMHOTEP, that book, we start to take a look at the different types of learners we are. So we're smart in different ways. And then I have workshops, and I do a presentation about that, talks about the flow state, talks about who you are, how to get into flow state. So there's different things that I have, different presentations. So it's different packages, because the mindset that I have is that it's not just going to be a book and then it's over. We have a book, we have coloring sheets, we have affirmations. We take a holistic approach for elevation, so that child is reading, but also the parents are being educated as well. So back again, as you say, the different parts of yourself and myself, the different hats that I wear as a teacher, as a father, as a writer, I bring all of that to the text and I say, okay, boom, if the person's listening and reading, they might want to know about the power of affirmations if they want to elevate their children, if they want to elevate themselves, right? And especially coming from, melanated people, dark-skinned people, there's a lot of programming out there that is negative. So we then have to climb out of that miry clay and then move into a more elevated state, which is in our mindset, right? So we have to make sure that we have a growth mindset. We have to make sure that we're thinking positively about ourselves, make sure that we have the right subconscious files that are there to say, you know what, I am a winner, I'm a champion. And I've seen those things in the formative years. So I want to make sure that children see these things and they have an example from the ages of 0 to 7 where they're really developing their subconscious mind.
Yes. I mean, it's what happens in those early ages and stages, and you can really appreciate that when you become, an adult and you realize some of the things that in your childhood that has affected you to where you are today, even. Yes. Right. So, it's very important to, when it, as we continue to populate the earth, and stuff like that, those are the very informative, vital years of absorbing information and knowledge. And then when we look at the idea of the breakdown of society and how that affects and adds to the trauma that, humanity faces, and then even younger, because it's already damaging even when you're as a child, right? So your development when it comes to your emotions and everything like that, it's all in that stages. So when you hit and you deal with trauma, that kind of alters the development of that, right? So, and that's kind of where the idea of psychology and social work and all of that kind of, and education and all of this that you and your wife have started, all of that is combined, and that's all about what I'm about. So this is why this means so much to me, that I can say, like, I love this, and I can say that wholeheartedly because I dive into the very definition of what love actually means. Right? So and being able to apply that at the different stages of of being, right, from self to your family, your heritage, and then outward, right? Because at the end of the day, we all are connected, right? Yes, like, so, we come from the same source, whether you want to say it's God, whether you want to say it's divine consciousness, whatever it is, or it's just science. It's all actually, and the idea of the ego, because one says, no, it's this, no, it's that, over the other, is actually a combination of all of it. And if we get outside of that taught, controlled mindset, we would understand that it's all connected. You got it. Right. And and the great source of information that I always say when I'm talking now about more recently, when I talk about how, and we talk about the arts and our imagination and things like that, right? And I relate a lot to like movies and TV. The best show to really explain what I'm talking about right now, like what, and even what we're discussing, Manifest. That was a series that was on I forget what cable channel, and then Netflix picked it up. So it's in its 4th and final season. Now there's part 1 is available on Netflix, but part 2 isn't out until probably closer to the end of this year. Okay. But yeah, like it's amazing, and it's very trippy too. So like and it's one of those things that you have to be paying attention. Like it's not one of those things you could just be like, right? Because you will miss vital pieces if you do that. You want to be focused on the show. Like it's one of those in-depth, like like the Da Vinci Code. I actually, because the Da Vinci Code is so long, I can't even get into I've never fully watched the Da Vinci Code, but it's something I know I need to watch. But it's also because of where it kind of goes. It's like in this sort of deep kind of, do I really want to venture down that rabbit hole? I'm not sure. Like it's an intense thing. It's like 3 hours long. That's the one with Tom Hanks, and then there's a whole there's a whole nother side of it, and the connection to spirituality, and because it's now down into the depth, the darker parts of spirituality too, right? There's that connection as well, right? So like that's another reason why too, because there's the sequential movies afterwards, like I think it's called Angels and Demons, and there's another one and whatever, but they're all actually relatively connected. So that I think that's also why I haven't dived into, I haven't, dive or don't, whatever the word is, into watching Da Vinci Code and that series. So yeah, but like art imitates life and life imitates art, right? And and all those stories are actually based on real historical things, right? Because we and the connection to, and here's the thing, history lesson, the connection to spirituality, because the Da Vinci Code, it's all about the artist Da Vinci, and I believe he's the one who created, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm remembering this correctly, he's the one who created the statue of David, and the representation and understanding what the representation of David is in historically, right? He was a warrior. Remember the story historically in the Bible, David and Goliath,
right, and a shepherd,
right?
Yes, and a king.
And then it turned into David representation, like of love and the meaning behind, and also the archetype of vulnerability, because the statue, which is in that's on the grounds of the Vatican, right? In Rome is that's what that statue that Da Vinci created, he made, that's what it was, a representation of that. And I forget, anyway, before I get down the historical rabbit hole, like that's something, if you want to look up further, you can, but there is that reference. And then the statue being naked is the idea of vulnerability, right? And if we understand why he created the statue to be naked, and it's in the Vatican, is because in the story, biblically speaking, of David and Goliath, he fought this giant, right? With like he was even offered, I think that his love interest, or family or whatever, offered him armor, and he refused the armor. He took on that giant with no armor on, and still managed to defeat him, right? So like the idea of what all of that sort of represents, right? Like, anyways, that's you see, and I can tell you all this because I have not much time to sit and dive into knowledge and do the research and whatever else, and then combining that with my own historical knowledge from what I've been taught in school, and things like that, like even what I've been taught at home, because like I said, I come from a Christian background, and so I know about the stories in the Bible, and and especially there's lots of children's books that have reference and have dollied up the story, so it stays with you, right? And so as I have nothing but time to sit and analyze and dive into information, and then sit there and then analyze everything, this is what ends up happening. So, and then I combine it all together with like I said, what I learned from other people, like therapy, and you know, what I've learned from people like you, and like, you know, like it's, and that's what it fascinates me. It truly just humanity. But at the same time, I also realize that it's as intelligent as we are, we're in very, very many ways really stupid. That's the part that's still, because the cycles of life and the repetitiveness and how, like, anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So this is why I'm so happy. Like this, like, yes, like elevating our sense of consciousness, and you know, feeding our, you know, like our ancestors, our future ancestors with, right, exploratory knowledge and honoring and understanding of our roots, and using that as fuel for the greater good. Right. So, you know, and you know, the combo, right, we go back to the combo, how all this came together. Well, that was in the form of love, because you had the ideas, but your wife is who brought it out, and it's what you guys built together. So, you know, and understanding a partnership, and your children are going to benefit from this legacy. They're going to carry this on. At least I hope so.
Yeah, they will.
I hope so for you guys, right? Because this is amazing stuff, you know, and man, we need this. Like, our world is at the greatest divide ever. And, you know, as a natural empath, and I had to stop watching the news during 2020. I was watching everything else, but the news, I had to turn that off. I couldn't do it because it was adding to my overall stress of life, and even all the family stuff I'd, you know, been dealing with. It was like, and given what my natural sort of, you know, calling, and the fact that I devote myself to community and family and social work, and that foundation, right, and the connectivity of the world, to see how the break up. Listen, I couldn't do it. It was too much. So yeah, and you know, so now, you know, things like this excite me. Things like this, you know, give me a sense of hope and motivation to, you know, because it's like, you know, why am I here fighting for? Look at where everybody else is like, and you know, that mindset of when you can't beat them, join them, like that kind of idea. But I've always had this thing in life. If I give into that, then I've allowed this outside force to win. That's not been my true nature. So I've always sort of led with that, but it's also been the idea, I think, that why I've also been through as much as I have, because I've kept that armor off, if you will, you know, and always led instinctually from what has always sort of been my nature. And, but, you know, since then, and having been forced into solitude to take care of myself, and really, you know, really deep dive in understanding myself and my mental health, and how it's all connected. Because if you watch Manifest, they say that like about 100 like per episode, probably. It's all connected. So that's etched in the show. Anyways, so that's another reason why you probably should watch it. And then so and anyway, so okay, so you kind of dove into the idea of, you know, some upcoming projects, like you have, you know, the Truly Melanated coming up, and you started talking about the idea how that's more of self-help, and is going to be still the idea of the Afro-Pick adventures with the workbook and everything like that, but more of a self-help healing sort of perspective, if you will. So any more you want to say about that? That maybe we veered off because of my way my brain works. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll finish it off here. I was just gonna speak about mental health, and the reason why I chose to really do Truly Melanin like this was just to really give a definition to the project, because every human being has melanin in their body. So the word Truly Melanin really is just saying to be truly human. And that's why, so Truly Human presents Self-Care Sundays. It's just letting the whole world know that this is a message that all of us can, sink our teeth into, that all of us need to be mindful of, is that we have to take care of our mental health. And in the story, Truly Melanin, she starts to show us the different strategies that we can use that to give us optimum health. And inside of the story, you're also going to learn where these mental health strategies originate from. So when we talk about yoga, yoga originated in Egypt. The word paper originated from papyrus plant in Egypt. So when you're doing your journal, also the word nature is coming from Egypt, from Netaru. So all these things are inside of the story. And we start to take a look at the wellness strategies, how to eat, how to think. All of these things are inside of the book and the workbooks to just help elevate the individual reading and then the household when they're all following along and going through the workbooks. It's a family affair. So I really went and just put some extra effort into creating this one so it can really affect families and elevate families' wellness and their mindset and their understanding about mental health.
And like I said, you've everything that I stand for. Like as I'm listening to you, I just like I feel like I'm being hugged. Like it's just like this is exactly what I'm all about, and this is also why I'm so I'm honored and can truly say that I absolutely love what you've created. I love you because all this comes from you, right? And what you the solid foundation that you and your wife have created with this, and where even as I listen to you talk, and even in our last conversation, prior to this, and the ideas of where I could see the vision of where and how this can be implemented for the greater good of society as a whole, I'm all for it. And this is, again, I talk about being immersed into my element. And this is another aspect. This is another piece to that whole puzzle that is me. And, and I want to thank you for what you've created. It's like I said, I've been so excited to go through it, but I didn't want to do it until again, after getting this opportunity to go through it with you, even though technically I didn't really go through it because we've just been talking this entire time, but I don't care. Like, I mean, it doesn't, like, I'm now, I feel like, okay, I'm going to go through, even if I get to go through it by myself, and then I'm sending you a message and be like, oh my God. So as long as you're okay with that,
Yep, that's fine. Yep, that's fine. You go through it. Tell me how does it make you feel? And yeah, April 15th, I'm setting it up. I got a phone call while we were talking, so I'm going to be addressing that. But yeah, April 15th, we got to make something happen. So I'm working tirelessly here on the back end, getting, talking to my illustrator, or he's texted me already. And I can't talk about too much because I really want to connect with the elevated ones, and I want to see you guys face to face. And yes. I can see that this is a long time coming, that we can have something in the community that talks about mental health, mental wellness, and just starting the conversation. As long as we have something as this tool, as a book, great conversations started to come into homes and families, and say, wow, let's start this. And I can't give too much away, but I'm very excited for that date. You follow, we follow each other on Instagram.
Yes.
So in the next few days, look at my calendar, we're going to be rolling it out and just letting people know where to come see us, where to get it. And yeah,
I'll also have your information down in my description box in the video and stuff like that. So, people can check you out. Also, I think one of the biggest pieces of our connected history that we never even talked about is where we're actually located.
Right. Right, right, right,
So, right, we're both Canadian.
right.
We're local to each other, right, in the
Mhm.
city of Toronto and stuff like that. So, and even though I know you said you talked about you've been traveling to like Belize and all these different places, you still have plans of doing things more locally as
Yes,
well, right?
yes,
So,
yes, yes.
yeah, right. So there's all that kind of stuff to look forward to and stuff like that on more on this side of society as
Right, right,
opposed to overseas, right?
right.
So yeah, like and like I said, the vision and the stuff, like the way my mind wanders and the vision that I can see from where all of this, but even more special. The most special to my heart is the truly melanin. That's what I'm really, really excited for,
Yes.
and all of that. And so that is yeah. So I can't wait, and I look forward to how we can connect and do things in the future. But I really really want to thank you for for joining me on my channel today. It means the world to me, and I can't express to you any more than I already have that how much that is. I mean, I probably will still try, and you'll probably get a lot of that, but I mean, but but still, like, and so but just before we close, is there anything else that you wanted to share just before we exit?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alana. I just want to say thank you to you and your platform and your followers as well for you allowing me to come on your show. I just want to say thank you for that. And I just want to let everybody know that you can get me at hezzyelevatesminds.com. I want everyone to know you can stay elevated as always. There's t-shirts over there. There's books you can get. And we also do presentations. So that's going to be coming soon. I'm going to be doing a little bit. That's part of the plan that I want on that day when we get together, just to really have that conversation that, you are a very powerful person. Everyone's powerful. But I want them to know that every human being is a powerful entity and they all have a purpose. All of us have a purpose, and it's our job over the planet is to find out our purpose and how we can serve humanity and raise the communal vibration, right? They raise the
Yes.
consciousness. So that's all I want to share. Stay elevated as always, and I'm looking
Yes, thank
forward
you.
to seeing you guys face to face. Right after this I got a few phone calls. I've been in the lab, but yeah, I'm going to try to really push for that launch date to really see the elevated ones coming together. And yeah, this next project is very dear to me too, and I can start to see the resonance in the world, especially with the sisters that come into the I did a few presentations, and there's something I can feel in the air that is resonating in the feminine energy that really just wants to talk about mental health. They want to, I can sense it in my travels and the books, and it's just a lot of the sisters are really just saying, like, we really want this. So I take that as a badge of honor, and I don't take that lightly. So that's why I'm working so hard to bring forth this book, because I know it represents a lot more than a book. I think it's going to elicit a lot of change globally, and I'm very excited. And I feel like I'm pregnant with purpose to deliver this out into the world. So yeah, that's what I
Yes.
do. All right.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Thank you so much,
So much. Thank you.
for joining, Hezzy, and and thank you to everyone for joining, me on my channel. My name is Alana. I am love. And until I see you again, don't forget to live, listen, and learn. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Stay elevated. Peace.
Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. No matter what people want.